Hi F45 family, my name's Hamish and today I just want to run you through a debrief of your InBody scan. So if you've got your scan results, pull them out and we will run through what the results mean. Now it is a very valuable tool, and the point of it is to take your emphasis and your focus off just weight as your primary metric and focus more on body composition and the importance of one, lean body mass, hydration, and of course body fat. All right, so from the top, you'll see your total body water. Now, you'll have a look and you'll be surprised because a whole lot of our body, in fact, 60 to 70% of our body is actually held in water, okay? And that's why hydration is so important. Now, a lot of that water, in fact, the majority of it, is actually held in our muscle. So the muscle's like a sponge and holds a whole lot of water. If you dried that muscle out, it would be like beef jerky and actually be your protein amount here, okay? So that would be your dried muscle amount. Now with the water weight, it becomes your lean body mass, or here, your skeletal muscle mass, that amount. So you can see the difference there. All right, so 2/3 of it is pretty much water. So that skeletal muscle mass is really important, and we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so protein we want to be as high as possible, because again, that's primarily your muscle mass. Minerals we want to be nice and high, we want to have nice, strong bone mineral content. And body fat mass is usually our focus, and the one that most people, at least, are trying to reduce. So we talk about weight loss, whereas really we want these three metrics to be as high as possible, and this one here to be in the healthy range or below, okay? Now, looking at our weight, I don't focus on it too much. Skeletal muscle mass, as I said, is a really important one. Now we want you up over the 100th percentile here, up into the black is ideal, okay? We're actually looking for this D shape, okay, which is an athletic shape, as opposed to the I shape, where all these finish in the same line, or the C shape, okay? We're trying to push up our skeletal muscle mass as we drop our weight and body fat mass. Now, as I said, this measure here, really important. Why? Because it correlates directly with our metabolism. Now, you see down here, we've got our basal metabolic rate. So if this person is 2,119, that's how many calories your body burns just to maintain homeostasis, all right? So if you were just to lie in bed at home doing not much, just the bodily functions will burn that many calories. So it's your primary calorie burner, okay? On top of that, obviously, you've got your day-to-day movement, and obviously your exercise sessions, and then the thermal effect of food, which is your body heating and masticating, digesting food. All right, so moving on, we have our body fat mass. Now, body fat mass is usually our target. Again, we want to keep it within the normal range, or it can go below, depending on what your goal is, and that's where you have a chat to your trainer about setting up what a realistic goal is for both skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass. Now the good news is it's much easier to actually burn body fat than build skeletal muscle, okay? The other good news is the more muscle mass you hold, obviously the higher BMR is, so the easier it is to get into a caloric deficit and burn fat, sorry. So your body fat mass here divided by your weight times 100 will give you your body fat percentage. So this number here, okay? That's your body fat percentage, and it's one of the big metrics that we measure all our results on when it comes to challenges, challenge winners, etc. Above that, we have our BMI, which is just our weight over our height squared. We're not really too concerned about it. It's a good older age population measure when holding on to lean body mass is really important. But for our clients, most of them are fairly high because they hold good skeletal muscle mass. So don't be too concerned about that one. Really, body fat percent is the one we're focusing on there. Now, segmental lean analysis is where that muscle is held in your body. So here we want them, again, all to be nice and high, but we're also looking for balance. You'll see here this person holds, in proportion-wise, more muscle in the upper body and the arms than the legs. So you tell them to start focusing on building leg muscle, all right, and core as well. So what we're looking for is a nice even spread across them all, but also the main thing we're looking for is that there's not too much of a discrepancy between right and left, okay? So right and left side arms, right and left side legs, because that imbalance can lead to injury, okay? So asymmetry is a precursor to injury. So if your ticked here is imbalanced, slightly unbalanced or extremely unbalanced, then really focus on that non-dominant side. And it happens quite often if you've broken an arm or a leg, for instance, and it's atrophied away. But really focus on that non-dominant side. Try and get in the habit of starting your unilateral exercises on your non-dominant side first and really focus on them playing catch up. And they should organically anyway, okay? That's where muscles distribute in your body. Then we've got our body water analysis, or your ECW, which is extracellular water. Now this is the amount of water outside the cells. This is basically a measure of hydration, okay? Now what we want here is somewhere around that 0.38 mark. It's not going to differ too much up and down, but it does make a difference when it comes to your body fat percent, because the more hydrated you are, obviously a lot of that water is held in your muscle, right? So the higher skeletal muscle mass is. This is why your body's always in a state of flux, because especially as you hold hydration, you hold water weight in your muscle, and that's why we don't scan after a session, because our body is dehydrated, and if you look at the measure, it'll be lower skeletal muscle mass, so it won't be an accurate picture. And really important that you therefore scan in the same state when you're doing your before and after scans. Okay, and make sure this is around about the same measure for both. If it's up on the extreme end, on the over end, that's where there could be a problem with holding on too much water, but we don't see it too often in the F45 community. All right, then it takes your big four measures. So your weight, your skeletal muscle mass, your body fat percent, and your hydration rate, and it will map out those. It will also give you a score there, your InBody score out of 100, all right? Now, yes, you can go over 100, but we want this as high as possible, okay? It then gives you a weight control. Now, the weight control is determined by essentially an avatar for your age and gender, sorry, your height and gender, going straight down the middle. Okay, so forget age, height and gender, straight down the middle, normal. It says, this is what we consider a healthy weight, this is what we consider a healthy body fat percentage, and that is primarily for hormonal health. Okay, so this is designed as a medical grade machine for hormonal health, and that's where it draws this number from. Now, some people are shocked because it says they need to lose a lot of fat. Some people are shocked because it tells them to put on a fair bit of muscle. But for a lot of people, if you ask them what their natural healthy weight is, and a lot of people know that, it's pretty good at determining that, okay? Now, it may say you need to lose a bit of muscle, but you like holding a lot of muscle, so that's fine, okay? Again, and it may say that you need to put on some fat because your body fat's nice and low because you may be competing, or you just need low body fat for a certain reason. Again, that's fine too. It's just a hormonal health picture, okay? Then we have our body balance. As I mentioned before, we're just looking for imbalances here. Generally, we find most people are fairly balanced. If there is a slight imbalance, just again, have a chat to your trainer and see how we can fix that up. Segmental fat analysis is where the fat's stored in the body. Now, most of the fat is going to always be in the trunk. The trunk is from the bottom of the glutes anywhere up to the shoulders, so anywhere where it's measured as one piece, okay? So obviously, it's our cortisol sites and our all the nasty sites where we tend to store fat, right? Through the stomach, through the obliques, our insulin sites as well. So rarely do we find a huge amount in the arms or legs. If there is a lot in the legs, it can be an estrogen issue. So again, have a chat to your trainer about that if that is the case. Segmental circumferences are our diameters, okay? So really good to have a look at these when you're comparing scans. Now, it won't measure them down here, but if you keep your scan, or we can bring it up on the history of the machine, and you have a look where you've lost centimeters. Okay, so a really nice picture of that. Visceral fat's a really important one from a health perspective. So visceral fat is the bad fat. If you cut open a cadaver, for instance, the visceral fat is that yellow-white fat that lines all the essential organs. Okay, so you've got your subcutaneous fat under the skin, which is what we often measure using skin fold tests. Ouch, that's right. And you've got your intramuscular fat, which sits in the muscle like Wagyu beef, okay? Now this one, visceral fat, is a really bad fat when it comes to health reasons, okay? So it is directly correlated with heart disease and diabetes. And they say anything over 10 doubles your chances of heart disease and diabetes, okay? Now you can't spot reduce visceral fat. Fat comes off in layers according to your hormonal profile, but it will come off as fat comes off. And it takes the emphasis off all this. If this is extremely high, it takes the emphasis of all this and says, all right, from a health perspective, forget aesthetics, forget everything else, I need to drop this down, okay? And the way to do that is to burn body fat, okay? Really important. Then it has our research parameters here. We've got our intracellular muscle, intracellular water, which is obviously held in the muscle. It's always going to be good if you hold good lean body mass because you're going to hold a lot of water, right? Extracellular we've spoken about, which is your hydration rate essentially. Your BMR we've spoken about, really important, and again, it is correlated with how much muscle mass or lean body mass you hold. So the higher that is, the easier it is to create a calorie deficit and the more calories you burn doing nothing, all right? Not too concerned about the rest. We find anyone that trains a fair bit generally has really good bone mineral content, visceral fat we've spoken about, and the rest I'm not too concerned about. So hopefully that gives you a pretty accurate snapshot. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of detail in it and there's a lot to go through, but it's a really valuable tool when it comes to one, setting your goals, and 2, taking a snapshot of how your physique is and where to focus on. So if you've got any questions, make sure you chat to your trainers or your manager, or feel free to contact myself and I'll run you through anything that's required. And other than that, good luck with your training, good luck with your nutrition. Again, nutrition is vitally important, so make sure it is 1, calorie controlled, and 2, your macros are in order, okay? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next